I am Jarvis, your storyteller. Welcome to the Science Fiction Exploration. If you like the story, please subscribe to our channel. Captain Alina Wright stood at the observation deck of the stellar cartography vessel Polaris, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of unfamiliar star patterns. The massive window before her revealed the actual stars, twinkling against the void of space, but it was the alien standing beside her that held her attention. Zyxtal, the Meridian cartographer, was gesturing at the stars with all four of their crystalline appendages, creating intricate patterns that seemed to dance in the air. "You see, Captain Wright," Zyxtal's translator hummed, "your human method of mapping stars is fundamentally incomplete." The Meridian's bioluminescent patches pulsed with gentle blues and greens, indicating what Alina had learned was a mixture of excitement and concern. Alina fought back a defensive response. After all, human stellar cartography had guided their species through their first steps into interstellar travel. But she was here to learn, to understand. Incomplete how, cartographer Zyxtal? The alien's crystalline form shifted, refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. "Your species maps in 3 dimensions, yes, but you perceive patterns based on your evolutionary history. The constellations you see, they are like viewing a painting through frosted glass." On the holographic display, Zyxtal manipulated the star map, and suddenly the familiar patterns Alina had known since childhood twisted and transformed. Stars that seemed distant from Earth's perspective revealed their true spatial relationships, and constellations that had guided humanity for millennia dissolved into new, startling configurations. "This is how we Meridians see the galaxy," Zyxtal explained. "We perceive gravitational relationships, stellar life cycles, and quantum entanglement patterns. Your Ursa Major isn't just a bear to us. It's a complex network of stellar nurseries and dying giants, all interconnected in ways your eyes cannot naturally process." Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen, the Polaris's chief science officer, had been quietly observing the exchange. Now he stepped forward, his dark eyes reflecting the holographic patterns. "But our navigation systems are built on human perception patterns. The entire Federation's stellar cartography network is based on an incomplete understanding," Zyxtal finished gently. "This is why we reached out to your species. The recent losses of ships in the Carina sector, they weren't navigation errors. They were perception errors." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. The disappearances had been classified, but of course the Meridians would know. Their vast network of quantum-entangled sensors saw everything. The ships that vanished. They followed paths that appeared clear from a human perspective, but intersected with quantum gravitational anomalies that only we can perceive. This is why we need to work together, Captain Wright. Your species' unique way of seeing patterns, combined with our ability to perceive quantum relationships. Together we could create something revolutionary. Alina turned back to the star field, seeing it with new eyes. The familiar constellations she'd grown up with, Orion's Belt, the Southern Cross, Cassiopeia, they were comfort food for the human mind, patterns imposed on chaos to make sense of the infinite. But what if they were also limits, boundaries that kept humanity from seeing deeper truths? "Show me more," she said finally. "Show me how you see the stars." As Zyxtal began manipulating the holographic display again, Alina noticed something strange. In the corner of her vision, a pattern emerged not in the stars themselves, but in the spaces between them. Something that seemed to respond to human attention in a way the Meridian couldn't perceive. She kept this observation to herself for now, but as the lesson continued, she couldn't shake the feeling that this partnership might reveal more than either species expected. The stars had secrets yet to tell, and perhaps they needed both human and Meridian eyes to understand them all. Across the vast observation deck, other crew members gathered to watch the demonstration. Dr. Nadia Patel, their xenobiologist, was frantically taking notes, while Navigation Officer James O'Connor stood with his mouth slightly open, decades of training being gently but firmly challenged by this new perspective. Alina Wright had a feeling this was just the beginning. As she watched Zyxtal weave stories in starlight, she wondered what other revelations awaited in the spaces between their different ways of seeing the universe. The emergency alert blared through the Polaris's corridors 3 days after Zeichsel's initial demonstration. Alina sprinted to the bridge, her heart pounding as she absorbed the information scrolling across her neural interface. Another ship had vanished, this time a civilian transport carrying over 300 passengers. "Status report," she barked, sliding into her command chair. The bridge crew's tension was palpable, their movements sharp and focused. Lieutenant Commander Chen's fingers danced across his console. "The Renaissance disappeared at the edge of the Carina sector, Captain. Same pattern as the others, all systems normal until they weren't. Just gone." Zeichsel's crystalline form shimmered with urgent red pulses as they entered the bridge. "Captain Wright, I've analyzed the quantum gravimetric readings from our sensor network. The transport crossed directly through what we call a stellar tide, a complex interaction of gravitational forces that can tear a ship apart at the quantum level." "But our charts showed nothing there," Navigation Officer O'Connor protested, pulling up the standard Federation star charts. "That route's been used thousands of times." "Because you cannot see it," Zeichsel explained, their voice gentle but urgent. "Just as I cannot see the patterns your kind uses to navigate, this is the paradox we face." Alina stood, moving to the main view screen where a real-time feed of the Carina sector glowed. "Show me, Zeichsel, show everyone." The Meridian cartographer interfaced with the ship systems, and suddenly the view screen exploded with new information. Overlaid on the familiar star field were complex webs of energy, shifting currents of gravitational force, and quantum relationships that made Alina's eyes water trying to follow them. "By the stars," Dr. Patel whispered, her xenobiologist's mind clearly racing with the implications. "It's like we've been sailing through an ocean using only surface maps, while entire currents and whirlpools churned beneath." "Precisely," Zeichsel confirmed, "but here is where it becomes more complex." They manipulated the display again, and now human constellation patterns appeared, overlaid on their quantum map. "Your patterns, your way of seeing, they're not wrong. They're different, and sometimes, remarkably, they predict dangers that even we cannot see." Alina remembered the strange pattern she'd noticed during their first demonstration. "You mean like the negative space between our constellations?" Zeichsel's form brightened with surprise. "You noticed?" "Yes. There are phenomena that respond to human perception patterns in ways our sensors cannot detect. It's as if the universe itself has evolved multiple languages of navigation, and each species has learned only one dialect." The implications hit Alina like a physical force. "So we need both, not just your way of seeing, not just ours, but a synthesis." "The Renaissance," Chen interrupted, his voice tight with urgency. "Could we have saved them with this combined approach?" Zeichsel's colors dimmed to somber blues. "Yes, their human charts showed safe passage, and our quantum sensors showed danger, but neither species was watching the other's signs. We must solve this paradox before more lives are lost." Alina squared her shoulders, a plan forming in her mind. "Dr. Patel, I want you working with Zeichsel on the biological aspects of how our species perceives space differently. Commander Chen, start developing an interface that can translate between our navigation systems and theirs. O'Connor, you'll test everything they develop." "Captain," Zeichsel interjected, their form shifting with concern, "there's something else. The quantum patterns in the Carina sector, they're changing, growing stronger. Whatever is causing these disappearances, it's getting worse." Alina felt the weight of command settle more heavily on her shoulders. They weren't just racing to prevent future tragedies. They were racing against an escalating threat that neither species fully understood. "Then we work faster," she declared, turning to address her entire bridge crew. "Humanity spent millennia watching the stars, finding patterns that helped us survive and navigate. The Meridians evolved a completely different way of seeing those same stars. Apart, we're vulnerable. Together." She let the thought hang in the air. "Together," Zeichsel finished, their crystalline form glowing with determination, "we might finally see the whole picture." As the crew dispersed to their assignments, Alina caught a glimpse of that strange pattern again in the spaces between the stars. It seemed to pulse, just for a moment, as if responding to their revelation. She had a feeling they were on the verge of discovering something far more profound than just a new way to navigate. The holographic laboratory aboard the Polaris hummed with energy as Dr. Patel adjusted the neural interface prototype. 2 weeks of non-stop work had produced something unprecedented, a device that might allow human minds to perceive quantum gravitational patterns while retaining their innate ability to see traditional constellations. "Ready for another test, Captain?" Dr. Patel asked, dark circles under her eyes betraying countless sleepless nights. Eleanor nodded, settling into the calibration chair as the xenobiologist attached the delicate sensors to her temples. "Initiating quantum perception overlay," Commander Chen announced from his station. "Zeichsel, please begin the pattern sequence." The Meridian cartographer's crystalline form pulsed with anticipation as they initiated their part of the test. Through the neural interface, Eleanor watched in amazement as new layers of reality bloomed across her vision. The familiar stars remained, but now she could see the quantum relationships between them, the gravitational tides that had been invisible before. "It's beautiful," she breathed, watching the interplay of forces, "like seeing music made visible." Suddenly, she noticed something unusual. "Wait, there's a pattern emerging, but it's neither human nor meridian, something else." The pattern she'd glimpsed before in the spaces between stars was clearer now, more defined. It seemed to dance between the quantum flows Zeichsel could see and the constellations humans had mapped, creating its own distinct harmony. "Captain," Zeichsel's translator hummed with excitement, "your brainwave patterns are showing unprecedented synchronization with quantum fields we've never been able to interpret. You're seeing something even we cannot." Commander Chen's fingers flew across his console. "Confirmed. The interface is picking up signals that don't match either known perception pattern. Captain, can you describe what you're seeing?" Eleanor struggled to put it into words. "It's like seeing the negative space in a painting come alive. The gaps between our different ways of seeing aren't empty, they're full of information. Patterns that only emerge when both perspectives are active at once." Dr. Patel's scientific composure cracked into pure enthusiasm. A third perspective born from the synthesis of two different ways of seeing, the implications for xenoneurology alone. "Navigation Officer O'Connor to the bridge," Eleanor's comm system suddenly crackled. "Captain, you need to see this immediately." "Send it to the lab," Eleanor ordered, still connected to the neural interface. The main display lit up with a tactical view of the Carina sector. The missing ship's last known positions appeared as glowing points in space. "Look at the pattern they make," O'Connor's voice was tight with excitement. "Not in human charts, not in meridian quantum fields, but in the space between them." Eleanor's enhanced perception immediately caught it. The disappearances weren't random. They formed a complex geometric pattern that only became visible when viewed through both human and meridian perspectives simultaneously. More than that, they seemed to pulse with the same rhythm as the mysterious third pattern she'd been seeing. "It's a message," she realized suddenly. "Or a key. These ships didn't just vanish, they were caught in some kind of perceptual shift. A doorway that only opens when seen from multiple perspectives at once." Zeichsel's form flashed with brilliant colors. "The ancient legends of my people speak of beings who existed between perspectives, entities that could only be perceived by minds capable of seeing beyond their own natural limits. We dismissed them as myths, but perhaps." "Send these readings to the Federation Science Council immediately," Eleanor ordered. "And get me a secure channel to Meridian High Command. If we're right about this, we haven't just found a way to prevent more disappearances. We might be on the verge of first contact with something entirely new." As the lab burst into activity, Eleanor remained in the calibration chair, watching the third pattern weave through her enhanced perception. It seemed to respond to her attention now, becoming clearer, more deliberate in its movements. Whatever intelligence lay behind it, it had been waiting for species to evolve beyond their limited perspectives, to learn to see reality through each other's eyes. "Commander Chen," she called out, "set course for the nearest disappearance site. Full power to the quantum sensors and keep this neural interface online." She smiled slightly. I think something out there wants to talk to us once we learn to see properly. The Polaris's engines hummed to life as they prepared to chase down the mystery. Alina couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to discover that the true paradox wasn't in how differently species saw the stars, but in what they all had been missing by looking separately instead of together. The Polaris dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the coordinates where the Renaissance had vanished. Through the enhanced perception of the neural interface, Alina could see the quantum turbulence still rippling through space like aftershocks from some cosmic event. Multiple quantum anomalies detected, Commander Chen reported, his voice tight with concentration. The pattern is shifting, responding to our presence. Zeichsel's crystalline form vibrated with intense frequencies. Captain, the quantum fields are organizing themselves in ways I've never seen before. It's as if they're trying to communicate, Alina finished. Through her enhanced perception, she could see it clearly now. The third pattern was weaving itself into an intricate dance between human constellations and meridian quantum fields, creating something entirely new. All hands, this is the captain, Alina announced shipwide. We're about to attempt first contact with an unknown intelligence. Stand by for potential perceptual anomalies. Dr. Patel monitored the neural interface readings closely. Captain, your brain patterns are synchronizing with both the quantum fields and something else, something that seems to exist in the overlap between perspectives. The pattern suddenly crystallized in Alina's enhanced vision, a vast, geometric structure of light and gravity that seemed to fold through dimensions she barely had words to describe. It was like seeing a constellation that had always been there, hidden in the blind spots between different ways of perceiving reality. They're not just patterns, she breathed. They're like synapses, neural pathways on a cosmic scale. The missing ships, they weren't destroyed. They were absorbed into this network. Zeichsel's translator struggled to keep up with their rapid color changes. A living consciousness existing in the space between perspectives. The ancient legends spoke of the Star Weavers, beings who taught our ancestors to see the quantum tides. We thought they were myths, but a new sensation flooded through Alina's neural interface. Not sight, not even the quantum perception she'd learned from Zeichsel, but something far more profound. Understanding. The third pattern wasn't just a message or a signal, it was an invitation. The Renaissance and the other ships, she announced, certainty flowing through her. They're intact. This consciousness, these Star Weavers, they've been collecting examples of different perspectives, different ways of seeing reality. They're building something, a bridge between all possible ways of perceiving the universe. Commander Chen's console erupted with new data. Captain, we're detecting quantum signatures matching the missing ships. There, inside the pattern somehow, and there are others, vessels and structures from species we've never encountered. A library of perspectives, Dr. Patel whispered, or a school. Through her enhanced perception, Alina could sense the truth of it. The Star Weavers weren't hostile. They were teachers, collectors of consciousness, working to help younger species transcend their limited perspectives. The missing ships had been their way of getting humanity's attention, of pushing them toward collaboration with the Meridians. They want us to join them, Alina realized. Not just humans, not just Meridians, all species. They want to show us how to see everything. The pattern pulsed with confirmation, and suddenly Alina's neural interface lit up with new information, coordinates, technical specifications, and something else. A choice. They're offering us the chance to retrieve our missing ships, she announced to her crew. But they're also offering something more, the chance to learn what they have to teach, to become part of this network of shared perspective. Zeichsel moved closer to the main viewport, their crystalline form refracting the light of distant stars. My people have spent millennia searching for greater understanding of the quantum realm, to learn that we were being guided toward this moment. Alina stood from her command chair, her decision made. Send word to both our governments. Tell them we've found not just our missing people, but something far more valuable, a way to transcend the boundaries of our own perception. And then, she smiled at her diverse crew, human and Meridian alike. Let's see what the Star Weavers have to teach us. The pattern brightened around them, as if pleased by their choice. In the spaces between human constellations and meridian quantum fields, a new way of seeing the universe was about to unfold, one that would forever change how every species understood there. The next 48 hours aboard the Polaris transformed everything humanity thought they knew about space travel. With guidance from the Star Weavers, Alina and her crew had successfully established a stable connection to the vast neural network that existed in the space between perspectives. The Renaissance and other missing ships emerged one by one from the quantum fold. Their crews and passengers changed not physically, but in their fundamental understanding of reality. They had spent their time in what they described as a university of consciousness, learning alongside species from across the galaxy. "The quantum signature of the last vessel is stabilizing now," Commander Chen reported, his fingers dancing across his console with newfound precision. The neural interface technology had evolved rapidly under the Star Weaver's guidance, allowing the entire crew to perceive multiple layers of reality simultaneously. Alina watched through her enhanced perception as the final ship materialized in normal space. The Star Weaver's presence was visible now as shimmering geometric patterns that connected everything: stars, ships, space itself, in an intricate web of consciousness and energy. "It's remarkable," Dr. Patel said, reviewing the medical scans of the returned crews. "Their neural patterns show the same kind of expansion we've experienced, but there's no sign of trauma or stress. They've simply grown." Zykestel, who had been in deep communion with their own people's representatives, turned their crystalline form toward Alina. The Meridian's colors played in patterns that Alina could now read as clearly as human expressions. "The High Command has reviewed our findings," Zykestel announced. "They are overwhelmed. Generations of our philosophers theorized about the existence of higher dimensional beings, but to actually make contact, to learn from them." "The Federation Council is similarly excited," Alina added, having just finished her own briefing. "They're already talking about establishing permanent learning centers where humans and Meridians can study together under Star Weaver guidance." The bridge crew watched in awe as a new vessel emerged from Fold Space, a Meridian research ship, the first of many that would join them in this sector. Through their enhanced perception, they could see how it navigated the quantum tides with perfect precision, using the combined knowledge of both species and the Star Weaver's teachings. "You know what amazes me most?" Navigation Officer O'Connor mused, his hands hovering over his redesigned interface. "We spent centuries thinking we had to choose between different ways of seeing things: human or alien, scientific or intuitive, physical or quantum. But the real breakthrough was learning to see all of it at once." Alina nodded, understanding flowing through her like starlight. "That's what the Star Weavers have been trying to teach all young species. It's not about whose perspective is right, it's about transcending the limitations of any single viewpoint." Dr. Patel's console chimed with new data. "Captain, we're receiving transmission requests from 17 different species. Word has spread about what happened here. They all want to learn." "The Star Weavers knew this would happen," Zykestel observed. "They chose this sector, chose our two species because we were ready to take this step, to become teachers ourselves." Through the vast window of the bridge, Alina could see the stars in ways she never imagined possible before. Human constellations overlaid with quantum relationships, and threading through it all, the shimmering consciousness of the Star Weavers, extending an invitation to all species ready to expand their understanding. "Send a welcome message to all ships approaching the sector," she ordered. Tell them this is just the beginning. The stars have always been here, waiting for us to learn to see them properly, and now, together, we finally can." The Polaris's systems hummed with new energy as they prepared to receive their first students. In the space around them, Alina could see the Star Weaver's pattern brightening with approval. They had done more than solve the mystery of the missing ships or prevent future tragedies. They had opened a door that would never truly close. Humanity's journey to the stars had begun with simple constellations, patterns imposed on chaos to help them navigate and dream. The Meridians had evolved to see quantum relationships, the hidden dance of gravity and energy. But now, in the fusion of these perspectives and countless others yet to come, something greater was emerging, a new way of seeing not just the stars, but existence itself. As ships from across the galaxy began arriving in the sector, Elena realized that the true adventure was just beginning. The stars weren't just points of light or quantum nodes or even the patterns between them. They were waypoints on a journey toward understanding that would never end. And that, perhaps, was the greatest constellation of all.